Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
Well, they're going to have to un-unanimous and unchoose her. Now, I've been going on safari most of my life, and I've never taken a woman. And I'm not going to change now, Barney, you ding-dong.
This is episode 241, recorded May 7th, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
Little poetic license there on the quote.
Yeah. Who are you calling ding dong? Okay. My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Bill Mulligan, Chad Hunt, and Gregory Crosby, filling in for Doc Rotten, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is my co-host, Chad Hunt, comic book artist and writer, and co-host of Decades of Horror, the all of them. How you doing, Chad?
I'm a little polar bored.
It's a new psychological diagnosis, I think. Well, hang in there. We'll try to perk you up there.
All right.
Yeah.
Bored right in the polar.
Also with us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, published author, and all-around nice guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I think I hear something coming.
Oh,
If I drop this book right now, it would make more noise than a T-Rex does when it sneaks up on you. This is one of the things you learn.
Yeah. Don't drop it because it might hit one of the cats.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Also with us is Gregory Crosby, a published poet and instructor. How you doing, Gregory?
The semester is officially 2 weeks from ending today. So that's where I'm at. I'm 2 weeks.
Is that a good thing?
Yes, it's a very good thing to be 2 weeks away from the end of the semester. That's literally how I'm doing. How are you doing? I'm 2 weeks away from the end of the semester. That's how.
Okay. Excellent. Glad to have you with us. Decades of Horror, Gruesome Magazine are partnering with PlayNow Media on several of their channels. And in fact, I just noticed today that Decades of Horror, the 70s is on the classic horror movie channel and the Wicked Horror TV channel.
And guess what else?
Okay.
You forgot to introduce Bill.
Bill who? I introduced Bill.
Totally introduced Bill.
You guys keep doing that. He's just so forgettable. That
Yeah, I did that to him last week.
Don't screw me up. I'm on line 8 of the script.
Where was I?
All right. So
we're on two different channels. Decades of Horror is.
Yeah, Decades of Horror, the 1970s. It's on other ones. I know it's on other ones, but those are the key ones. But at any rate, we do have a promo code for you. So on the PlayNow Media channels, any of the like 25 of them, you can just go to them and watch them like as if you're watching Tubi. You don't have to have you don't have to sign up. You don't have to have a username and password, but it won't remember what you're watching, and you'll get commercials or ads, and you will not see some of the premium content. Now, if you subscribe, make a username, password, then it will remember who you are. You can have a favorites list. You can have and it remembers where you stopped watching a movie, no matter what device you're on. Then, if you really want to get the full boat, you can subscribe for a fee at $6.99 a month or $50 for a year. And with the promo code we have, you'll get 20% off your first payment. So you would get 20% off your first monthly payment of $7, so $1.40 off, or 20% off $50 for your first annual payment, which would be $10. In order to receive that, you must be a first-time subscriber, and you must sign up on their website. And you can find that. Just go to PlayNow Media and look for their products and pick the one you want. But we are on Decades of Horror, the 1970s is on Wicked Horror TV and the Classic Horror Movie channel. And the promo code is DOH70. DOH, all caps, 70. So check them out. I was going through them today, and I couldn't believe all the movies that were on there that I hadn't heard of. If you like really bad movies, they got them. If you like good movies, they got them. You know, if you got hard to find movies, they got them. So check them out. On this podcast, we start out by giving a few basic details of the movie that we're going to talk about. Then we do first impressions and then taglines. And then we take off through the episode and just talk about whatever we feel like talking about that interests us. Hopefully interesting to you too. So
in other words, it's a podcast.
It is a podcast. And this is our movie today.
Oh, ain't he cute?
Oh, he's adorable.
The Last Dinosaur from 1977.
He just looks like a little busted can of biscuits.
Look at that puppy dog eyes.
Oh,
he seems friendly
and
enough.
His head's not even dented in this shot. This is a joint Japanese and American production. So the two directors are listed: Alexander Grasshoff and Tsugunobu Kotani, or billed as Tom Kotani. Written by William Overgaard. The cast includes Richard Boone, Joan Van Ark, Stephen Keats, Luther Rackley, Masumi Sakaya, and Tetsu Nakamura. And before I go too far, there's Richard Boone with his makeshift crossbow.
Yeah.
The production companies are Rankin Bass Productions and Tsuburaya Productions. It was filmed in the Japanese Alps and the Tsuburaya Studios in Japan. Released in the U.S. on February 11th, 1977. It was an ABC TV movie, and it was edited to 92 minutes. In Japan, it was released September 10th, 1977, and it got a theatrical release and had the full 106-minute version.
Well, I heard most of the missing footage is what the dinosaur did between being home and sneaking up on everybody, and how he did it.
Yeah,
Sure.
His tippy toes.
Yeah, it's those 4 months.
So it's a trade secret. The Japanese title translates to Polar Probe Ship, Polar Borer. And the synopsis:
Boy, that's not an exciting title.
It's not, but maybe in Japan, if I braved the Japanese pronunciation, it's about a wealthy big game hunter and his group that become trapped in prehistoric times where they are stalked by a ferocious dinosaur. Now that kind of makes it sound like it's time travel, but it's not.
Sure.
They just find one of those Skull Island type places, in the middle of a volcano or something, a prehistoric valley. And there's good old Richard Boone.
Have golden bullet will travel.
The worst big game hunter ever. Everyone in this movie is incompetent at the job that they're supposed to be an expert at. He's a big game hunter, and yet there's an actual scene where he's got the dinosaur dead to rights with his high-powered gun, and he's complaining, "Stop moving." Okay, what are you used to hunting? Already dead animals?
By the way, this is Bill Mulligan, and he's going right into his first impression. So go for it, Bill.
Okay. So I was 17 years old, 16, 17 when this movie came out. I loved dinosaurs then. I love them now. I love them till the day I die. There was no way I wasn't going to watch this. And so it's funny. I remember watching it and recognizing its lesser qualities. I knew this was no Harryhausen movie, but I was having fun watching it. It's been a long, long time since 1977. This is the first time I've seen it in how many years are we talking about now? Let's not even dwell on that. As I'm watching it, this kind of reminds me of when we saw Vampire Circus again after the first time in so many years. I knew what was coming up. I'm like, oh, you're gonna love this part. This is the part where the rock flies through the air, hits the dinosaur on his head. His head caves in as though it's made from paper mache, and then pops right back out. And sure enough, there it was. This movie has bored into, much like the polar boar has gone into my brain. And there's a few things I do appreciate now. I thought that I was being real clever when I joked, actually, the Last Dinosaur is Richard Boone. Well, that metaphor is pretty much driven home by the theme song. Yeah. So yeah, You don't have to be Fellini to pick that one out.
Yep.
It's got such glorious 1977 male chauvinism. Richard Boone looks like he has lived his entire life trying to come up with new things to do with gin. His face, he's a year younger than me, and he is just ravaged by the life he's led. He yells out all his lines. I'm pretty sure he's improvising some and has forgotten the rest, but he's great in the role. I can't imagine anyone else in the role. He's perfect. Everyone in this movie, it's so silly, but it totally works. And again, I was like, I have this vague memory that there's a dinosaur buried underground and he's going to come rising up. And sure enough, here comes a triceratops that apparently, like Rambo, has buried himself and is just waiting for the right moment to come bursting out. And like, what is the scenario here? How did this happen? I don't know. It's Man in Suit, but you know what? It's actually pretty good Man in Suit. Yeah, the suit is a little dopey looking, but it moves well. It they use the slow motion, the speeded up camera to give it some heft. And by God, finally you're doing a dinosaur movie. You got a man in a suit. He's not an actual dinosaur, but here's a suggestion. Hold the camera low so that it looks like you're looking up to him and give him the illusion of size. And they do that. The Japanese crew, completely separate from the other crew that was filming Joan Van Ark and Richard Boone and everything. They really did a top-notch job on what I'm sure was a tiny budget of giving this higher production value than it really probably deserved or what they expected. I just had a real fun time watching this. Is it a good movie? No, but it's kind of great. It's one of those movies, and maybe this is I'll be interested to hear what you guys hear, because most of you probably weren't watching it as a kid like I was, or maybe you were, but it was a different time. I know I'm seeing this through nostalgia once again, but I had a great time watching this. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty much the way I remembered it, and I'm glad for that. So I'm glad it lived up to my expectations, my memories.
Thank you, Bill. And Chad, how about you?
I watched this on its first airing back in the day.
How old were you then?
77. I was 12. And 11 or 12 years old. And remember seeing the ad for it in TV Guide, The Last Dinosaur. So I made it a point to make sure I had nothing else going on at my young age, and and watch this. And I have loved this movie since day one. It is the stupidest piece of thing almost put to film, and Richard Boone is horrible in it. Joan Van Ark is horrible in it, and all the rest of the actors are horrible in it. But I love this movie. I'm coming at it from the viewpoint of a monster kid, a kaiju fan. I loved Godzilla, and I loved the dinosaurs, King Kong. I loved those guys. And I just thought this was the greatest movie ever made when I was a kid. I just love it to death. And it still has a certain charm to it that I enjoy watching it ever since then. And the dinosaur looks, it looks bad. It really does look bad. But and when I was that young, I saw him get his head caved in, and I was like, holy cow, he's got superpowers. His head gets caved in and it just inflates back to its normal size.
He didn't have to
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was amazingly great. And I remember my dad sitting on the end of the couch watching it with me, because he was a big Richard Boone fan from Have Gun Will Travel and that kind of thing. And I looked at him a couple of times, and he's just looking at me like, and I was going, this is great. It's the greatest thing ever. And I love this movie. I really do. And I don't know why. I really don't. It's just the big giant dinosaurs in suits. The first dinosaur that they ran across that was, I can't remember what kind of dinosaur it was. It wasn't a triceratops, but
no, I think it was a made-up dinosaur.
The two big horns coming out.
Kind of a prehistoric rhino or something.
I was laughing my ass off at the guy's total human legs and the, and the two in the front at slow motion. It even looks sillier, and it was just it was amazingly bad. But I love it to this day. And I'll admit it mainly because I loved it so much as a kid, and I can still watch it, and it takes me right back to that mindset of little 11-year-old me loving, dinosaur fan and King Kong and monster fights and dinosaur fights. It just checked all those boxes, and I still love it today. I have no problem. I even bought a digital copy of this movie. I love it so much, so I can watch it in different places.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's I love it.
Excellent.
Unapologetically.
Thanks, Jeff. And Gregory, had you seen this before?
I'm afraid I'm going to be the Chad of this episode. I was 9 years old when this movie was broadcast on television, and I thought that it's highly likely, being a dinosaur and kaiju obsessed child, that I would have seen it. But as I was watching it, I was thinking, I don't think I saw this back in the day. So I think this was a first time watch, even though it sounded very vaguely familiar, which might have just been osmosis from Famous Monsters or from some kind of, that kind of thing where it's like I knew of it, but I never really saw it because this does not seem familiar. So there's no nostalgia that is preventing me from saying that this is not a very good film. It's not good. And there's a very specific thing that bugs me about it that I can either say now or wait till we get more deeper into it. I will, but let me say its virtues. As badly written as their characters are, I think Richard Boone and Joan Van Ark and Stephen Keats are great in this. I think they're hugely appealing, just in sheer they make this very watchable. They're chewing scenery in every single scene. It's amazing there's any scenery left standing in the amount of scenery chewing, particularly on the part of Richard Boone. And I was enjoying this for what it is, up until the time jump, when suddenly it's 4 months later. And I don't know what it was, but this movie became unbelievably tedious to me from that point onward. And I don't know why that is. It became a huge slog. I was really enjoying all of the ridiculous 70s aesthetics and details of it up until that time. Just all the unbelievably ridiculous plot, points like, oh yeah, this T-Rex ate all four of my fellow guys, so we're going to go back with just 5 people. Yeah, and like a rifle. We're not going to go back with 70 polar bears filled with a zillion guys with guns and defense and set up a camp and actually really do this properly. I was enjoying all that, and then the time jump really kind of knocked it out for me. I really dislike, and I know this is stupid. I really dislike the trope of, hey, we've discovered dinosaurs. Here's some cavemen too. I kept thinking, if you could just cut all of the cavemen out of this, how much better this would be. I was annoyed that there were so few dinosaurs. Granted, a ridiculous complaint to make about a movie called The Last Dinosaur.
Right.
But there were very few dinosaurs in The Last Dinosaur, which I found odd. I also found it odd they were able to survive for 4 months without being eaten by this Tyrannosaurus Rex, who has the ability to literally sneak up behind you and step on you without you once hearing it at all.
Tippy-toe.
Yep.
So, and then there's a very specific sort of, which when we talk about the effects, we can get deeper into, that I found, because I kept trying to figure out, why am I not, enjoying this for the aspects of it that you would enjoy, which is the kaiju aspect, right? The guy in the suit aspect. And I think it's because, for some reason, if this was Gamera and some ridiculous, triangle-headed shaped creature, duking out with each other, I would accept how ridiculous and bad the effects are. But there's something about dinosaurs
Mhm.
The tiny, my little black paleontologist heart that's still beating deep within my chest somewhere is really, really bugged by bad dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs in this movie are pretty bad, especially the pterodactyl.
Well, yeah.
You know,
The big sponge creature.
it's
The
really,
Humperdactyl.
it's really, and I kept thinking like this is a Japanese co-production. These are clearly the same craftspeople who do the Godzilla movies, did Gamera films, did the kaiju films. There's something about a guy in a T-Rex suit that is just, I just can't. Not to mention the tiny little snippets of Godzilla roar that they
Yeah, that's funny.
put into the T-Rex's mouth, which was it's weird. And the fact there was an American cast. If this had been a Japanese cast, I think I might have enjoyed this even more. But the fact that it was an American cast, and they were just, it was just, I just was like, somebody please call Ray Harryhausen, call Jim Danforth, somebody somewhere, bring us. That said, there is some fun stuff in this. The whole thing where they tie his tail to a rock.
The tail. Oh my God.
Then he pulls the rock
Awesome.
after him.
That just needed some Warner Brothers cartoon sound effects.
I laughed out loud. There's fun to be had in this movie, but I can't say I fully enjoyed it all the way through, and I cannot give it the love that Chad and Bill have given it. So now I want to hear what Jeff thinks, because he probably bought the Blu-ray. So
Nope.
Oh,
I didn't buy it, but I had a lot of fun with it, and I don't know that there was any part that I had less fun with. There was a so everybody should know by now I'm a big Richard Boone fan, all the way back to Have Gun Will Travel, and movies after that like The Shootist and Ombre and The Alamo. And he has this verbal method, I guess, or tick, like where it kind of reminds me of William Shatner. Like everybody knows an impression of William Shatner, whether they sound like him or not. They just have to get the rhythm right. Well, he's kind of got that too, where he says, for emphasis, he all of a sudden says something really loud at the end of a sentence, and but it works really well in Have Gun Will Travel and those other movies I mentioned. But in this one, he's like almost a caricature of himself in terms of the use of that. But I still liked it, and he couldn't have been any more misogynistic. I mean, he treats that first woman like crap, and then when he lets Joan Van Ark on finally, it's only because he's decided he might be able to get some.
And she was a lovely redhead with a cute dog too. Deeply offended.
Yes. So it just, but I thought it had I liked the story. I mean, I thought the writing was okay. I felt like what was his name? Stephen Keats. That seemed like a little bit of his immediately going sort of ballistic on him. Although you have to realize he's been living there with Richard Boone for 4 months. So he probably got a short fuse by then. But I thought, strangely enough, I'm like at the beginning of it, I'm kind of like going, Joan Van Ark and Richard Boone. I mean, my dad, when we watched Have Gun Will Travel, he'd look at Paladin lived in this fancy hotel in San Francisco. And he's dressed up real sweet. He had like a silk vest and fancy suit and stuff all the time. And there was all these beautiful women around. My dad would go, how does a guy like him get all these beautiful women? Anyway, I didn't care.
It's true. The only thing less believable than the T-Rex was Joan Van Ark actually getting together with Richard.
Well,
yes,
but now see, that's where I was going. Is by the end of the movie, I believed it. I thought they did a great job of that interplay. If you could ignore, I mean, I'm ignoring a lot, but I thought the acting was good between the two of them. Anyway, Yeah,
I
glad
liked
they
the
didn't-
movie, and I didn't like the acting at all.
Yeah,
that's all
I'm
right.
glad they
That's
didn't
all right.
linger on the kissing scenes because it was like watching two
So
cars
the-
fighting
the-
over
the-
a
the
popcorn.
dinosaurs.
I just want to. I mean, Chad was saying the acting was bad, and yeah, it's not great acting. But I just want to point out that in a movie like this, you just want some chemistry between the actors. So even if it's not the greatest acting, that the stereotypical cliche characters are playing, they're giving it their all, their full gusto in the ridiculousness of it. And I think they all did that. I think Joan Van Ark was and Richard Boone and Stephen Keats all like just gave it their whole like, this is the character I've been given. I'm going to chew up this scenery. And I think they did have chemistry with each other. So sometimes that can mitigate the fact that, oh my God, is this what they gave you to read? I'm so sorry.
I think I read an interview with Joan Van Ark where someone called her up and just wanted to talk about The Last Dinosaur, which must have tickled her. And she was very gracious and very complimentary to this. Sounds like it was an ordeal to shoot, the kind of thing where they got sent off to Japan. They're in the Japanese Alps. It's not a Hollywood production. So she gets there expecting there's going to be someone to do her hair and makeup. No. And you know, you're falling down in the mud. It's cold. It was rainy. It was drizzly. And when you're in a situation like that, if you like your castmates and everything, you can actually it sort of comes across they're having a good time in the trial by combat sense of the word. I see this sometimes in some of the amateur movies that I've been involved with. You're troopers. It's a war, and you're fighting the war. And if you get to go home to Hollywood, you survive. I think that's sort of the vibe I get from it. And she genuinely seemed to like everyone in the cast. She did mention that it was wise to try to get all the dialogue scenes shot before noon. And she said that I can almost see the wink. She said it in a way to imply because after that point, Mr. Boone had enough liquid lunch that his lines were not going to be coming out very good. So get it shot early, and then we can do the stumbling around on giant turtles and things. So, but it's a fun interview if you can find it.
I'm surprised she liked him at all. I mean, there's the one scene where he comes back home with her to show her.
Yeah.
I mean, he was copping feels left and right on camera. And
well, that was a great scene when she suddenly is like, here's my portfolio. I got the slides. I'm going to show you.
Yeah,
right.
You think, oh, this is very clever. She's turned the tables to him, and then she still gets together with him.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What?
It's like, hey, I'm a modern woman. I don't need to. And then boom, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. To finish my first impressions.
Sorry.
oh,
Well, I thought the location was great. I mean, it had a worldly look, you know, that river marsh bottom and the mud and the mountains. Right, it was a lot of rough terrain around. I thought that looked pretty good, and it set up a couple of comic situations where they fell in the mud. So anyway, and the dinosaur. My God, but I liked the dinosaur battle only because they didn't resort to. They didn't resort to Godzilla type wrestling moves.
Yeah,
they actually did things that looked like they tried to make it look like what two dinosaurs fighting would look like. But anyway,
that's true.
And that's the classic
like two dinosaurs.
That's the classic dinosaur fight every dinosaur kid wanted: T-Rex versus Triceratops.
mm-hmm.
In our minds, they were mortal enemies that, you know, would just like drop everything to go battle each other, and it could go either way.
And he stuck him in the belly. Wow,
sure did.
Double stick.
Yeah.
In reality, though, it was like, "Good morning, Ralph."
Deep in the belly. Then he's fine. He's fine. It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah. Kind of like when he got hit in the head with that boulder.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
In slow motion, by the way.
Yeah.
I
like that. Shame. You know, I like that too. I like the montage of them making the catapult. I just thought I'm like, that's believable. You know, that's how you'd have to make it, right? It's like all these.
In the 4 months that they were there, did they build any significant shelter of any kind? But they were able to whip a catapult together, like you know.
Well, they were in a cave, and
technically maybe a trebuchet, but who cares? You know, the point is, it seems like they really
technically a trebuchet.
You know.
Anyway,
that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a couple of things like that. The the crossbow was a little magical, but okay.
The boulder on the tail was brilliant.
That was amazingly brilliant.
I hope the actor who played
Bunta got all the.
I hope
all the
Bunta was not
hazard
paid
work,
by the line, because he did not have a single line in that movie, did he?
but he did have all the hazard pay, right? All right. Well, folks, that brings us to a little thing we call
Dun, dun, dun.
taglines with Chad. We don't
Chad's
even need
getting
the
off
music
easy.
anymore.
There's no taglines.
There is. There's a couple.
Taglines for The Last Dinosaur. A land where time was forgotten.
Oh wow, there should
Well,
be
that's
lawyers
unique.
on the phone right now.
A lost world ruled by the largest man-eating monster of them all, Doug McClure.
I was thinking Richard Boone, but anyway. All righty. And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
So I pulled something up while we were sitting here. This was broadcast on TV, and we did this for Kolchak, but I thought it'd be interesting to do it here. This is what was on that night. It was up against the Sonny and Cher show and Executive Suite, and Rockford Files and Quincy.
But it had a great lead-in with Donnie and Marie.
Donnie and Marie, yeah, and it's probably the same people would watch both of those, right?
Oh, I feel so attacked right now.
Anyway, all right, posters.
I just want to say that this goes in my Hall of Fame for biggest disparity between what you are promised and what you get. Look at that freaking dinosaur, that slobbering, beautifully almost Frazetta-like dinosaur, and then we get little puppy dog eye guy.
He's got a person in one hand and a tree in the other hand.
Yeah. He just picked up a tree because he can.
He commenced a whipping and a whomping.
He's a slobber in there. Like, I cannot wait to get this tasty morsel in my mouth.
And look, well, I guess maybe the one is Bunta with his spear.
Yeah,
it was kind of dumb that he brought the gun, but he's the big game hunter and he's going on safari and he's the one that gets to shoot it. So why have more guns?
Some say that pterodactyl is still floating in the same spot that it was when the poster was first.
Does that thing have like foam rubber wings that look like sponge? Like
I don't know, but it didn't move very fast. I don't know how physics don't add up.
Well, here's the ad from TV Guide.
I'll give him credit for showing the actual dinosaur seeming to do some kind of dance. I don't know. Put your hands to the
and Richard Boone screaming.
Yeah. No, that's very. Yeah, that's very. I don't even know how.
Yeah.
Who's that with the spear? That's not Bunta.
Who thought this was
supposed to
a
be
terrifying
Bunta,
pose for a T-Rex?
No.
He literally looks like he's about to dance the Macarena.
Mm-hmm.
Electric slide.
Jeez.
And then we have another one.
That's suggestive.
This is the most phallic shot I've ever seen.
Well,
Flesh
and
Gordon
so
had
we
nothing
have
on this.
The polar bear, and the guy, the main character's name is Maston Thrust, which I'm sure his friends called him Mast.
Okay.
Thrust.
Can I just say in the early scene when they're on the plane and the camera, goes past the cover of Time with him on it.
Yeah.
Worn on a stack of Tijuana Bibles that read Master Thrust. Master Thrust. And my first thought in a split second was like, what? And I was like, oh, that's 1977. Yeah, okay, Master Thrust, whatever. But no, it's Master.
Hey, you got to be like the richest person in the world when you have an airplane that has a fireplace. I'm not even sure how that is physically possible. And yet somehow I want a fireplace in my airplane. Like, sir, that will almost certainly cause a decompression. I want a fireplace.
I was totally confused by that. They were in his house. Now they're on an airplane. Wait a minute. You mean the fireplace was in
that moment I knew what I was in for.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And then we have the German I think.
Derletzi Dinosaur.
Well, at least the artist of this seems to have seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no lies in this. Hey, that's another thing I noticed. Every now and then they would get pinned between the T-Rex and the water, and they're like, "What do I do? What do I do?" It's like, well, the water looks like at its deepest point, it's maybe 2.5 feet, and it's still as a mirror. There is no danger whatsoever except for the leeches, and yet they seem to be having a hard time. And I think at some point, Joan Van Ark actually decides to run toward the dinosaur and go underneath its legs rather than get her feet wet.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool though.
Well,
That was
yeah,
cool.
but her whole shtick is it's really chauvinistic for you to not take me on and assume that as a woman I'm going to be constantly needing to be rescued. And yet, once she gets there, at every turn.
Well, and then after 4 months later, they have degenerated into the 3 men go out hunting, and she's left to wash up and cook
and complain
and
when
even
back
clean the kills. And then we have the Japanese one, which is pretty much the same picture. Close to the same, a little different. More stuff at the bottom.
I remember them wearing helmets in that thing.
Oh yeah.
Did they wear helmets
when they were on the border? And they looked like they were
bad hats.
Yeah, bad motorcycle helmets or something. So that I actually thought. So first off, the miniature effects when they have the helicopter landing on the platform was when you can't, no matter how hard you try, make it look real size. That's bad miniature shooting. I don't know what they did wrong about it, but it was so obviously a miniature that it was ridiculous.
It was lit bad, and it was
and
I
mean the airplane looked pretty good when it was
but
flying.
Again, if you know that you're watching a Japanese co-production, you just roll with that.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, here's the miniatures. Okay, now the movie's really starting.
But the polar bear thing, when it was going through the water, I thought that was actually not bad. I mean, it had like the bubbles coming out of it actually looked like it was moving fast. I don't know if it was animated or how they did that, but
I found it to be kind of a bore.
Nah,
it was. It was good.
I'm here all week.
Try the fish.
What I did not understand about the polar boar was the fact that it has this spiral nose cone in the front, but it doesn't use that at all to dig through. It uses a laser to dig through the earth. So what genius of engineering designed the spiral that doesn't really work?
We decided it looked cool.
It's called aesthetics.
Yeah, that's right.
That spiral would have no effect whatsoever. I mean, you'd want something with flights the size of a auger or something to scoop the dirt out if you wanted to.
I wanted it shaped like my penis.
Like a pointy something. All right, the director is what did we say his name was? Alexander Grasshoff. And he did 3 episodes of Kolchak.
Including one of our favorites, the zombie.
Very good.
He also did Bad Medicine and The Energy Eater.
The Energy Eater, was that the one with was that the UFO one with the planetarium?
No.
Thinking of,
was it?
Wasn't it?
Well, I thought the UFO one was As They Were in the beginning.
Oh, you're right.
Okay. Sorry.
Energy Eater was the bear spirit, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Now, he did not direct the Bermuda Depths. That's a mistake. The writer of this movie wrote the Bermuda Depths, which is another favorite of mine from way back when. And
he also wrote a movie called The Bushido Blade, which starred Richard Boone and Stephen Keats.
And Toshiro
Mifune. Yep. I was going for the common ground there, and the director, Mr. Grasshoff, was nominated for 3 Oscars for documentaries.
And I believe actually won an Oscar for a documentary, but then it was determined that it had been released too early and they took it back, which
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, really.
The documentaries were 1967, The Really Big Family, which is a documentary about a family with 18 kids. And then The Young Americans in 1969, which was a documentary about the All-American Kids Choir touring the country. And then finally Journey to the Outer Limits, which was a documentary about the, what do you call those, where they take the kids and put them in danger, they have to climb a mountain or something. Outer, shoot.
I like the part in Young Americans where they ask him if they remember their President Nixon.
There we go.
Thank you. Good night.
David Bowie reference there. If you don't know what we're talking about, your music taste sucks.
Exactly.
Well, you're making me look now because I hate when I can't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too, where they took
the Outward Bound, Colorado's Outward Bound School.
Outward Bound.
With. They took him to climb Santa Rosa Peak in the Peruvian Andes. That seems a little extreme. There wasn't a mountain in Colorado you could climb.
It's also a hell of a great premise for a horror movie. I mean, that's the beginning. Where you go from there is up to your imagination as a writer. But boy, a bunch of spoiled American kids or hoodlums forced to climb a mountain that they don't really want to, and then bad stuff happens.
Any comments about the directing? Is there any?
Who's the other director?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Tsugunobu Kotani, who's known as Tom Kotani.
And what is his?
He did the Bushido Blade.
Right, another Richard Boone film. Did he do any other kaiju?
F2 Grand Prix. Well, I can't tell. They're in Japanese.
Oh.
It doesn't look like it from the posters. The Ivory Ape was a TV movie.
Somewhere there's some really.
Oh, and he directed the Bermuda Depths.
Yeah.
Too. So yeah, so there was. Yeah.
Somewhere there's some really snobby kaiju fan where, like, if you were a true kaiju fan, you know all the names you got.
But we do have a crossover here in the Bermuda Depth and the Bushido Blade. Yeah. He directed the Bermuda Depth, which was written by the same writer as The Last Dinosaur. All right, moving down through the cast. Richard Boone.
Yeah.
I Bury the Living. Kids, if you would like to see a really great low-budget horror film, recommend I Bury the Living. As Bill pointed out before we started recording, it's great up until the last 10 minutes. It's also a film I discovered because in Stephen King's survey of the horror field, Danse Macabre, and he talks about some of his favorite horror movies, he actually listed that as one of his favorites. Mm-hmm. So I tracked it down years later to see it, and it's very effective up until the last 10 minutes or so. But worth seeing, and it's it's not a typical Richard Boone role, either. So that's nice too about it. The typical Richard Boone roles are there in the posters below I Bury the Living.
Yes, Have Gun Will Travel, The Alamo, and The Shootist.
And look, his acting is over the top, but for this character, this is perfect. This is a guy who has outlived his time. At the beginning, that pretty poor opening credits where the girl he's just ignoring is just going through and it tells his life. It's not just shooting a bunch of helpless animals, though that is a big chunk of it. It's also shooting a bunch of not so helpless Nazis. And this is a man's man. This is the kind of guy who'd be on the cover of all those men's adventure magazines. I fought the Nazi pirates of Tarantula Swamp or something. He's adult, but times have changed. Now animal rights activists don't like it when he's shooting the last rhinoceros. And women, who knows what they want anymore? Apparently it's not some old creepy guy slobbered all over him, although he's doing fine because he's the richest man in the world. He knows that, if he was Richard Boone, the garbage man, he would not be scoring Joan Van Ark. He's not happy.
I don't know. They make pretty good money.
Yeah. And so he's perfect. Yeah. The ending of the movie, which I guess is supposed to be kind of poignant. It's like, listen, I would be tempted to stay in the land that time forgot, knowing full well that it ends pretty poorly for me. Inevitably, this sneaky T-Rex that, was going to go, Ninjasaurus is going to tiptoe up to me, and that's the end of me. Bunta didn't make it. I'm not going to make it. So, but still.
He should have just turned to Joan Van Ark and said, "Did you not hear the theme song at the beginning of the movie?"
Yeah. So Nancy Wilson, by the way.
Not the one from Heart.
I really enjoyed that. Right. That was a nice little sort of James Bond, Shirley Bassey.
It was. Yeah. But I was disappointed that it was not Nancy Wilson from Heart. I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. And it's like, no, different Nancy Wilson.
By the way, I guess I had forgotten, but I Bury the Living was directed by Albert Band.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the character he's playing. You talked about the dinosaur. So at different times, the dinosaur has thunderous footsteps that shake the ground. They actually show a close-up of the ground quivering under his steps. And other times, it's like they're looking for him, and all of a sudden they turn around and he's right there. That's what we're talking about. It's like at 3 or 4 times he's just
it's completely ridiculous.
On little cat's feet.
At some point they ask he asks like the sign, how fast does this thing go? And they're like, 3 or 4 miles an hour. And I'm like, he goes, we can't outrun it. He said, you can't? Really? 3 or 4 miles an hour? Okay, I guess. But I had fun with him. But I certainly did not want to see any close-ups of him kissing anybody.
Speaking of which, apparently his great-great-great-great-grandfather was Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone?
Brother George.
Oh, George. My brother George. I wish my brother George could see me.
Make that stuff up.
George Boone. Did George Boone do anything? Or did he just give up? It's like, there's no way.
Made cheap wine.
Thank you, Chad. That joke was literally forming in my brain. And you took that hit. Thank you.
Convenience store wine.
Now this, according to this, and I'd never read this before, but it says he was cast in the role of Old Lodgeskins in Little Big Man.
Really?
Which they ended up, Chief Dan George played him, which was
a better choice.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. I do think he had some small amount of Native American blood in him, if I read that somewhere.
Well, George Boone was, I think most of those mountain men back then probably ended up with, so it was.
Remember how in the Westerns, there was always a scene where either the lead guy or some bad guys were punished, but they were stripped to the waist and strung out in the sun with their arms and their legs stretched out. According to this, that happened to Richard Boone in a episode of Have Gun Will Travel, and it's the first scene of that.
Oh, first time they ever showed.
Yeah, that. I find that hard to believe when I think about all the Western movies that were made before. But it says, so vivid was the scene that leading men in other TV Westerns soon found themselves in similar circumstances. On
Thanks,
Wagon
Richard.
Train, Hondo, and Laredo. Anyway. He turned down Robert Shaw's role in The Sting.
Well, that was a mistake.
Anyway,
that was right about the time they made this movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, they shoot. No, that was earlier. That's quite a bit earlier.
Do you know Richard Boone is one of those actors who he's in that category for me of actors who were leading men, yet somehow they were character actors who somehow became leading men. They had serious character actor vibes at all times, and yet there was something about them. Again, the charisma that just made them into they were the leading man, But also character stuff. I mean, he's certainly not the lead in The Shootist, right?
Right.
Or
the Alamo.
But you know what I mean. He just that's always a fascinating thing where Richard Boone just looks like a character actor, but here he is. He is the last dinosaur.
There's also something kind of cool / tragic when you see an older actor, someone who in their prime was playing a character of real power and strength, and now age has taken its toll, and you see the ravages of it, but there's still something kind of noble and cool about that. It's like going and seeing the ruins of some great Greek architecture or something. It's actually kind of cooler looking seeing the remains of it than seeing it maybe when it was brand new. And he's got that. He's way past his prime, but still, he's an old guy who's seen a lot of stuff, knows a lot of stuff, and it's no shock that he survives.
He's actually pretty good at this part. He kind of fits this part.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Joan Van Ark. Where do we know Joan Van Ark from? And I know we've done
frogs.
Frogs.
Yeah.
I mean, for people of a certain generation, they know Joan Van Ark from Knots Landing.
That's it. I was going to say Falcon Crest, but you're right. Knots Landing.
Knots Landing. But she's, it's a terribly written character, but nonetheless, she's
no matter
feeling in this. She's a professional. She's giving it her all.
And no matter how dirty and grimy she was, her makeup was perfect.
Her hair was fine,
even after 4 months of being trapped in that valley. Yeah, that's always my favorite part. Oh, it's 4 months later. We all look pretty good, right?
Yeah, we haven't lost any weight. That's,
Yeah.
In reality, if I go camping, by the time I scraggle back home, I need to walk in there and go immediately to the shower.
That's kind of insane. 327 episodes of Knots Landing.
That is insane.
I don't think I ever watched that once.
I believe at the time, I would think I might have been married to someone who was watching it, so I probably watched around 327 episodes of
79 to 93.
She's fine in this.
Yeah. She does the best she can with a terribly written character and manages to make her likable, because I could see very easily she would not be likable.
No, she's that's what I'm saying. She's there's chemistry there, and she's very appealing, even though her character is just like the worst, the most ridiculous. It's like, yes, I'm a photojournalist. I've been in wars and taken all kinds of things. But now I'm going to cry because we may be stuck momentarily in this valley.
Yeah, and I got a leech. Wham, wham, wham. Meanwhile, I'm going to stand in front of a rampaging 500-foot rhinoceros monster and not get out of the way because I want to take this one picture of a foot stomping me to paste, and I got to be rescued by Richard Boone. Okay.
Well then, but I thought she did good with what she had here. And played off some of the humor with Richard Boone pretty well. There was one scene with, I'll put him up now, Stephen Keats. That scene where the two of them are like, I think he says something like, "Why don't you just shut up?" And she says, "Why don't you just make me?" And then they clinch.
Yes, of course.
Oh,
music wells up. It's like, oh yeah, meet cute. He was pretty intense, and I was sad because like, wow, this guy's familiar, but I don't really recognize him. What did he go on to do?
Oh,
He died pretty young. He died.
Very young, but I had that same feeling throughout this movie. It's like, I know this actor. I just saw this actor in something. And then I looked up his filmography and realized his first film was the really great adaptation of The Friends of Eddie Coyle with Robert Mitchum. He's really good in it. He's got some nice films in his filmography. And somehow by the 80s, something had gone awry because by the early 90s, he died by suicide. According to the Wikipedia page. Yeah. But yeah, he was in quite a few. He was in quite a few good films in the 70s, around The Last Dinosaur.
Well, a lot of
he's really great in The Friends of Eddie Coyle, which those of you who enjoy crime films highly recommend. Robert Mitchum.
He's great in that too.
Robert Mitchum it's a great Robert Mitchum. Where Robert Mitchum is playing a sad sack, which Robert Mitchum had been playing it really well. It's a great crime film.
Now, Gregory pointed out a big flaw with this character is that he's the only survivor of the previous mission. Everyone else who got eaten by the T-Rex, and yet somehow manages to get talked into coming back with one gun. With one gun with a guy who's not going to shoot the dinosaur, which he's really big. Make sure you don't shoot the dinosaur that killed all my friends.
Yeah, doesn't seem like he is like when he's introduced as a character, he seems traumatized. That whole press conference thing.
Yeah,
This guy's and he's not only is he going to go back, he's going to go back with like 4 people. Like if this was me, I'd be like, we're going to go back, sure, but you're taking an army, right? You're going to take a giant crew of people to secure this, right? It's like it makes no sense.
So
Ripley made sure she didn't go back by herself.
That's right.
Exactly.
Marine.
Yeah. He should. It's like, where are the Marines?
Yeah.
Right?
He kept working all through the 80s. I mean, he has 91 credits, even though he died when he was, I think, 47.
He's in Troop 182. He's in, what else is he in? He was in a couple of other things.
A lot of TV shows, but a few movies mixed in there.
Some good stuff.
Yeah,
I thought he was. I thought this is very much a classic sort of, role.
And I think that's why you recognize him, because he's in almost every TV show. If you watch TV in the 80s, you would have seen him more than once, right?
He's also got that gap tooth sort of thing that's very memorable. It's very distinctive. I thought he was fun in this. I also appreciate how he's just like, I'm not gonna keep it a secret that I'm gunning for Joan Van Ark's character. I'm just gonna like take her face in my hands, like we've been married for years. And Richard Boone's just looking at him like, what the hell? What are you doing?
The execution, he was in that. Anyway, it was too bad.
It's good to know that over the 4-month period that Richard Boone's ascot came out of it unscathed. Not like everyone else's clothes that were torn to shreds, but his ascot remained intact. Somehow.
Artfully torn to shreds.
Well, I'm with you on the cavemen too, Gregory, because they were.
I'm sorry. Anytime
they were so badly.
Cavemen, my 6-year-old know-it-all paleontologist self calls out. It's like I turn to a tiny reply guy. Actually, embarrassing.
Was this the part that got cut out? Where did this extra 14 minutes for the theatrical cut come? I do not remember watching this on TV, the scene where he shoots the caveman with the crossbow.
No, that probably was cut because I can imagine they were not going to show that on TV.
Yeah.
That's a brutal scene.
It is.
Yeah.
Their physical acting left something to be desired.
Yeah.
Trying to look like.
Oh, it was just the worst. It was just the worst. And the way the young Hazel just like walks around with Joan Van Ark's purse around her neck.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of
this guy,
Dr. Kawamoto, who was hired because he had good English.
Look at those posters.
He was in The Manster.
The Manster, the most amazing. Was he the mad scientist in The Manster?
Yeah,
I think he was the mad scientist.
He was the mad scientist. He was the best.
My all-time favorite. Like, you come to for me. Great.
He was so great. I put 2 posters in there for some reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, they don't look much alike.
Yeah.
Atragon, the Mysterians,
Latitude 0, Yog, monster from space.
We did Yog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
whenever I see the Mysterians, I can't look at the title without thinking question mark.
Yes.
I know, it's kind of upsetting. It's like you might cry 96 tears.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you. Good night.
One day we got to do Atragon because it has one of my favorite plots of all time, where this mysterious underwater civilization rises up and starts destroying ships and this is a warning, don't you dare do anything with Atragon. And then they disappear and everyone's like, what the hell is Atragon? So we go looking for it and then we find it and then we use it to destroy them. It's like, good move, underwater civilization.
Yeah. I think I actually first saw Atragon when it was part of on the Criterion channel as part of their 60s, Japanese kaiju stuff. I'd never heard of it. So Atragon is like a recent watch for me in the last.
So we did the Manster on Classic Era.
So
we haven't done that many Tohos on Classic Era.
So it's great.
Well, we need to get snapping on that.
We did Rodan. And we did what's the one with the gargantuas?
Or the
War of the
Gargantuans.
Gargantuas.
Yeah, War of the Gargantuas.
Great one.
I love War of the Gargantuas.
Who
I love
doesn't?
this kid. And you can talk about bad songs and movies all you want. You will never find a song more irritating, more nails on a chalkboard than the words get stuck in my throat.
The words get stuck in my
Stop.
throat.
Stop.
The words-
Stop. Bill, stop.
All right.
I'd rather sing The Last Dinosaur.
Oh no.
All right.
So
anyway.
lots of and I think did you say this was his last movie? It's his last movie.
Oh
At least
wow.
Listed in IMDb. He lived until 92, but he was in Red Sun too. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, he went out like a champ, stomped to death by a dinosaur that apparently didn't even notice he was there. Just walked up on him and just.
That was one of the best lines, though. Richard Boone said, "This big thing with the brain the size of a walnut kills one of the greatest minds in the 20th century." Great line.
That was that. Yeah, that was.
That's
Oh,
why
he
the
was in the H-Man too.
Oh yeah, that's why the catapult didn't work because
The
it was a
gangster.
big rock and it hit him in the head. But his brain is the size of a walnut, so it's hard to really damage something.
I got a feeling that skull was a little thicker than the dent implied.
And then to do it in slow motion is a puzzlement to me.
So we can see every flaw.
So you could see it hit in slow motion and literally cave his skull in and just roll off like water off the back of a duck.
See, when I was a kid and I saw that, I thought that was deliberate and that was really cool. Now that I'm older, I watch him like that. I don't know. Did they mean for that to look as silly as it does? Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was cool.
They should have had him put his thumb in his mouth. But, all right.
Sometimes you get the feeling that the filmmakers in this era would just be like, everyone understands this is a guy in a suit.
I think
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
obviously don't know the kind of people they're talking to.
No.
And
So this
is
gentleman,
Toru Toei.
he played the T-Rex and he was Godzilla in Terror of Godzilla, one of my favorites.
Mm.
Um,
Now I object to this poster. Gamera is not a super monster. Gamera is friend to children.
yeah, he's really neat.
Yeah.
He's full of turtle meat. Gamera the super monster, by the way, is really terrible. The best Gamera movies are questionable. The worst Gamera movies are just unbelievable.
I'm gonna say this as someone who loved Gamera movies as a child. I'm not sure there is a good Gamera movie on any real level.
I mean, the first one plays it pretty straight.
I loved Gamera.
Yeah, Gamera is awesome.
Well, they did a good job with the ones that came out in like the 90s, I think.
Oh, those were great. Oh, those were
Yeah.
absolutely
No,
fantastic.
I'm talking about the original.
Yeah, we're talking about him doing somersaults on a pole and
Bill, he was also in Terror of Mechagodzilla. He was Gojira in.
That's the same
you know
movie,
what?
I think.
Is that the same movie as Terror of Godzilla?
Yeah. You see down there in the poster, there's like, even though he looks much smaller than he does.
No, I'm not sure that's right because this one's got King.
There.
This one's got King Caesar and Terror of Mechagodzilla. Isn't that the one with Tyrannosaurus?
King Caesar just dropped by to hang. He's not.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Bill. That was Tyrannosaurus.
So I think I meant to. I got the wrong poster. Oh well.
But this
Not
one
the
does
last
have a different name. I'm sure too. The Terror of Godzilla.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
looking
playing
for
that guy. His Godzilla has the same kind of puppy dog eyes as the T-Rex series. That's when he was getting cute again.
The worst.
no.
The worst Godzilla design from whatever that era was in the 70s.
Oh, I'll tell you which was the worst.
To me, somehow works better for me than the T-Rex suit.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yes.
Well, Mechagodzilla's right there.
I think guys in suits stomping on miniatures is much more effective when it's pure fantasy.
There were at least 2 Mechagodzilla movies in the original.
Yeah, I think this could have been the Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Well, I don't.
But then the other Mechagodzilla movie had
Titanosaurus.
But I think this one
in Germany, this was called Tyrannosaurus. So,
Oh, really?
this was, or maybe I'm wrong.
well, Terror of Mechagodzilla was also called, but we know what they do in Germany. They call
him Frankenstein.
They call everything Frankenstein. So,
Speaking of Frankenstein and kaiju, you guys haven't done Frankenstein Conquers
the World,
have you?
yeah,
I think we did. Yeah.
I think they.
yeah.
That's a wonderfully unhinged.
I've got the poster. I love that poster.
So that's that. Well, now let's look at the co-star of the movie.
Here I am.
The other Last Dinosaur.
Wow.
He's so freaking goofy with those little tiny. And I realized T-Rex did have little tiny arms, and that's why a lot of times whenever they need a T-Rex dinosaur in a movie, they just say screw this and they put it in an Allosaurus. It's like all of Harryhausen's T-Rexes were Allosauruses because they just had stronger arms and didn't have those little.
I gotta say,
this one he pulls a spear out.
He does. He does.
So when I was a little kid in Michigan, there was a place in Irish Hills, Michigan, that was a dinosaur park that was full of animatronic dinosaurs, and the kids would ride around through this forest of dinosaurs, of animatronic dinosaurs, in a little train, and they gave you a little fake machine gun so you could shoot at the dinosaurs.
Like Buffalo Bill.
It was part of a whole roadside attraction that was right next to a mystery house, a mystery
spot.
Oh,
those are great. Yeah,
right?
Mystery spots were great.
There were many moments of watching this dinosaur in this movie that sent me back with a Proustian rush to riding in that little train, shooting at in fact, often I thought, the animatronic dinosaurs in Irish Hills, Michigan looked better in many shots than this dinosaur looks in many of the shots. Now, that said, he was pretty cute when he was pushing the polar bearer into the boneyard.
Yeah.
Like a dog with like a toy.
Right.
It was actually kind of charming. I was like, oh, this is, I see where they're doing this as a plot. This is cute.
He's like a raven. He likes shiny things.
Yeah. And which is like, there's literally no justification for that. Like, doesn't like Stephen Keith's character say that? Oh, maybe he thought it was shiny and like took it away. Like, there's no justification for that. That's not part of T-Rex lore, dude.
But we weren't there, so what do we know? But what needs to be answered is how the hell did they get it back from that pit?
No, that doesn't have to be answered.
No, I guess not. Because it wasn't.
Okay.
Weren't they using like log rolling it?
Yeah, they were using like rails and rollers.
Yeah. But you had to believe.
You had to believe they could get it up out of there.
Right. Rather than show this happening, you just see an exhausted Joe almost gotten into the water, which actually I thought was pretty brilliant. I was like, that's perfect. We don't have to. We can just believe. Yeah. Just as we believe that 4 months have passed, we can just believe that two people.
Same way they made the pyramids.
This giant polar borer.
And that's fair enough. We don't need to spend 15 minutes watching them build a trebuchet. Just say we're going to do it, and then 2 seconds later, well, that's done. Woo!
This is not Fitzcarraldo. We do not need to see this dragon over the mountain. Just we get.
Although if Werner Herzog wanted to do a remake of The Last Dinosaur, I would be camped out to get the first ticket. So
true.
All right.
I cannot make The Last Dinosaur because we are collectively as a species are the last dinosaur.
Oh, there you go.
So
this battle was pretty good.
There is a credit for the
considering it's 3 guys playing 2 dinosaurs fighting each other, and
there's a credit for the front half of the Triceratops, but not the back half.
Well, no. The back half gets no credit.
He's just the butt of many jokes.
When he finally keels over, you could tell they didn't quite have it synchronized right because it's like one guy fell over first. But I thought they did a good job picking the right shots. Yes, it's obviously 2 guys in a dinosaur suit, which is way cooler than 2 guys in a horse suit. But look, they put the effort. I appreciate the fact that they've got bones in the foreground and the mist. And I mean, they did what they could on a low budget to give this an epic quality. And cheap as it is, there is still something awfully cool about a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Triceratops fighting a battle to the death in a valley full of bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boneyard was kind of
Actually,
cool.
great. This is actually a great setting for this.
Yeah.
This actually might be one of my favorite parts of the film. This right here.
Even though it inexplicably has a triceratops buried in the mountain who suddenly comes alive.
Well,
Yeah.
just as T-Rexes are known for liking shiny things and taking them back to their boneyard, Triceratops enjoy covering themselves with dirt and lying in wait for unsuspecting T-Rexes.
From the people who brought you Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Heat Miser. It was the greatest dinosaur fight in the history of film.
All right, thanks for bringing
this
that up,
came
Chad,
out
because
before First Blood.
I had a moment watching this thinking, like, what if Rankin and Bass had just done this the way they did their holiday specials? What if The Last Dinosaur was just completely stop motion, animated, and it would work
And some songs.
1,000 times better. And it would probably have some more, and it would have more songs. Yeah, exactly.
Get Jimmy Durante back in there to do some stuff. Got Burl Ives.
Burl Ives plays Mast and Thrust.
Yeah. Be great.
All right.
Great fun.
Last comments on this. Any more? I'm glad you picked this, Bill. I wasn't too excited about it, but this is one of those movies I never would have watched on my own.
Right.
And it was fun. It was fun.
It's still fun to watch. Yeah.
I'd forgotten it existed. So yeah. Even though I was not as big a fan as Chad and Bill, I am glad that I have seen this. This is my recommendation. If you are a completist of either kaiju, Lost World, dinosaur films, and or Richard Boone performances, you should watch this movie.
And even if you're not any of those things, you should still watch this movie.
It's what'd you guys watch it on? Was it on?
I think it was on Plex.
It was on Plex.
Okay.
Like I said, I own a digital copy.
I'm impressed. It's also on Prime for like $3, something like that.
Yeah.
The digital copy is Chad's version of a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Chad doesn't.
I own it on digital.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's older, so he still believes in physical media.
It'll be around forever.
I do. Yeah, it will. Well, guys, guess what? We have some feedback.
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 Did you say feed butt?
I did.
Gotta scroll down to
Closely related to.
Is that what we're calling it now?
So this one's kind of interesting. I'll just do this first one. Episode 214, To the Devil a Daughter. Jeff Chapman, 8597 says, hope you guys are still going. This rocked. So
we're still here.
Yeah, we're still going. We're not doing current movies right now, although who knows if that will change. But we Decades of Horror keeps rolling along.
Hey, Jeff, just if we were doing current movies, what current movie would you be raving for people to go see right about now?
Sinners.
There you go. That's the correct answer.
Silence. I'm seeing it tomorrow afternoon.
Oh,
I won't say a thing.
Silence. I literally had people text me going, "What'd you think of Sinners?"
I'm sure you're one of those people that does, but stay for the credits.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
There's a mid-credits scene that's
all right.
worth it.
No, I'm very. I was going to see it last week, and then I had to go be a stupid adult instead.
Yep. Life interviews.
So I'm going to try to see it tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything about the movie other than I think it may be the best horror movie I've seen in a couple years.
I'm looking forward to it. All right.
Episode 239, Phantasm. Well, let's go with Gregory from Fraser Rice, 1873.
I had a feeling. I love this movie, but I'm not sure why. Join the club, Fraser. The plot and the rules of this world are incoherent, but make just enough sense barely to work. I think the strength lies in the brotherhood of the main characters and Reggie. The heart comes out and gives us a real interest. The Jawas are creepy, the Sphere is badass, and Angus Grimm is a Pantheon-level baddie. Well said. Throw in ethereal camera work, Coscarelli direction, an editor with a mandate to cut it in half, and you have one of the real happy surprise horror pleasures. Thanks, Grue Crew, for bringing this one out of the mortuary.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Fraser.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And then let's go, Bill. Jose Luis Herrera Lepron.
Jose says, this is such a strikingly odd film. I first saw it on TV in middle school in a cut version, and we watched it all the time. We taped it. Years later, I found the DVD. Like Gregory points out, it's similar to Lake Mungo in that it's an exploration of grief. It's obviously quite different in its approach, but both films are quite similar in that way. The Blu-ray restoration from a few years back is first rate. I have to admit, though, that the image of Mike descending the stairs while the killer fly is trapped with Mike slamming back and forth on the way down is pretty funny.
Yeah.
That, my friend, is called acting.
It's akin to the school of acting that teaches you how to act on the bridge of the Enterprise as it's being battered.
Exactly.
All right. Chad, still on Phantasm from Andy L.
Andy says, hi, crew. It was nice to hear you cover one of my top 10 movies.
Wow.
I've always had a love of movies that screw with your perception of reality. In the Mouth of Madness, 13th Floor, Memento, Dark City, Inception, The Usual Suspects, and more are all good examples of ones that make you question what is really going on and what's unreliable. I first saw Phantasm on cable television or VHS shortly after it was released that way and have rewatched it a number of times over the years. Still holds up well. Seen all the sequels, and have enjoyed them, although somewhat diminishing returns as the series went along. But the tall man is certainly one of the icons of horror. Coscarelli had an interesting career in trying to get movies made and wrote an autobiographical book on the subject. While I have seen most of his films, I will say that the John Dies at the End book was much better than the movie. Wanted to mention that Ravager took a lot of effort to get made and actually is the only one in the series that Coscarelli didn't direct. That was passed on to David Hartman, who previously worked with Coscarelli on Bubba Hotep and John Dies at the End. I did find it to be even more disjointed than the earlier entries, but still nice to see Angus Scrimm get a final outing as his signature role. Thanks, as always, for being a great driving companion, and thanks, Bill, for describing the visuals for us listeners who are not watching the podcast. Andy L.
Yeah, we kind of blow that off sometimes. Ralph, what was that? What episode? What was that on Critters 2? Ralph Miller joined us because he worked on the movie, and he was pointing out that we didn't follow a coherent following of the plot. And I'm like, you're right, we don't. That's why you should watch the movie first. All right. And we have a couple on Corpse Eaters, episode 240. First one is from Perfect Mask 1. Gregory?
Enjoyable episode as always, but I do watch some crap to prepare for the show. And there is a crying emoji. Yeah. Terrible film, nearly as bad as Frankenstein's Island, but shorter, thank God. Keep up the good work. Hopefully better 70s films on the way. I don't know about that.
Oh, I vastly prefer Frankenstein's Island.
I think I would actually watch Frankenstein's Island again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would take Peter first.
Well, that's the thing as horror fans. We have to wade through some shitty movies to find something good, a little. And
you can't tell from reviews and ratings either, because it depends on what's the thing that what are you afraid of? And for me, what scares me is stuff that may not scare other people, and vice versa. And you can't go by IMDb, because I've seen stuff that had like a 4 out of 10 ranking in IMDb that I thought were really good movies.
Yeah.
So
no, you can never go by rankings, but you just have to always go in with low expectations. And you'll be...
And from Ralph Miller, and maybe somebody can help me on this one, Bill. The first 2 lines, I'm not sure where they come from. This is on Corpse Eaters.
Says, Isle of the Dead. I love the dead too. Yummy. No, I totally don't know where he's coming from. But... In truth, most all of us are corpse eaters. It is cruel to take bites out of animals while they are still living. True enough. True enough.
They don't have that same compunction with us.
I'm sorry. Who's taking bites out of animals while they're still living? I'm not doing that. I'm not taking bites out of animals while they're still living.
Well,
These animals are dead.
that
He's-
makes them
that's what he's
corpses.
saying.
That's a corpse, and therefore we are
He
all
said we're all
corpse eaters. Although I
What
did
if,
see,
Ralph, what if one of us was a vegetarian? You don't know.
okay, I did see a thing once where in Japan, I know this is going to shock you. In Japan, they take a live fish, put it on a plate, they put this pressure cooker on top of most of the fish, leaving the head out, flash steam it, just give a burst of steam, and then take it to your table, and you're eating cooked fish while the head of the cooked fish is going like, what the hell just happened? So, yeah.
I
Okay.
can't feel my legs.
I can't feel my legs.
fins. Where's the rest of me?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to everybody for the feedback. Thanks to Ralph, Perfect Mask 1, Andy L, as always, Jose, Fraser Rice, and Jeff Chapman.
It's a little sad that Thunderhead Jones didn't weigh in on the corpse eaters.
Yeah, he's always missed.
I don't know. You know, he probably hurt his feelings.
He's a
Talking
jerkwad.
about
He deserves it.
But you can leave your feedback on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel under each individual podcast, or you can send emails to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. We love your feedback. All right. Next episode is one chosen by me. And by the way, and I've decided that regardless of the quality of the
We've waited long enough.
visual, we're going to do A Cold Night's Death,
Yay.
which Andy L reminds me of like at least once a
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
Have you done Cold Night's Death yet? Why don't you do it? It's on YouTube. Okay. So I went through YouTube. I went through Daily Motion. I went through archive.org, and I think I found a watchable version on YouTube. This movie is a TV movie from 1973 starring Robert Culp and Eli Wallach, and that's it.
Yep. And a
Interesting.
bunch of monkeys.
They are in a polar research station.
But they don't have a borer, so they're stuck there.
Well, yeah, with a bunch of monkeys
So some Arctic horror.
doing some experiments and
All right.
stuff.
Yep.
That sounds very. That sounds very promising.
What year is this from, Jeff?
73.
I'm gonna continue to plump. If we're talking about 70s TV movies, I'm gonna continue to plump for Bad Ronald. Simply
Yeah,
because
Bad
it was
Ronald's
a movie that I saw as a kid and was vaguely haunted by for many years.
I think that's one Doc likes too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
I don't know if I
Cold
liked
Night's-
it. I'm just haunted by it.
Cold Night's Death. I would have been 12 years old, and that was a
I saw this
slightly
one, yeah.
frightening night going to bed after watching Cold Night's Death. That
All right,
last few minutes of that movie stuck with me.
all right.
I'll be interested to see if the rest holds up.
That sounds good. That sounds.
I waffled, and I'll get somebody mad at me about this. I waffled with Norless tapes.
Hmm.
'Cause that's another one we get a lot about. But
So
it
by
felt-
someone you mean Jerry.
Jeff.
Jerry will tell
Well,
you.
we
who
got
made
other
that.
people that brought that up.
I want to do the Norless tape.
Well, you can pick the Norless
You
tape.
can pick one.
So
Is the Norless tapes available? It is, right?
it's on YouTube. It's not great. It's better. It's a better version than A Cold Night's Death. Actually, I think a Norless tapes might be on Plex
The
too.
Norless tapes is so creepy from the get-go, from the opening scene.
Well, the problem for me with Norless tapes is I didn't see it at that time, so it's very much, to me, it's very much like a Kolchak movie. It is a Dan Curtis movie.
Mhm.
It's Dan
And,
Curtis, yes.
But I didn't see it when it happened, so it doesn't
Right.
have that
It doesn't
nostalgia
matter.
factor.
In
that
Dan
Kolchak
Curtis,
does.
we trust.
Yeah, well, true.
For 70s horror, come on.
It'll be good. It's good. We're doing A Cold Night's Death next, Andy.
Okay,
This
that's
one's
fine.
for-
I
this
actually
one's for
this
you,
is good
Eddie.
because I recently saw I think I saw the Norless tapes maybe a couple years ago, but I've never even heard of Cold Night's Death.
Well, there you go.
Good.
Right.
It's really not a very good quality, but it's enough to watch.
Yeah, Jeff, we sat through the quality of the corpse eaters. I think.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
talking
good.
about the visual quality.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
that's true.
I'm
Yeah.
saying-
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we.
It's at least that good.
If we
It's
can
at
make it
least
to
that
the,
Oh.
the visual quality of the Corpse Eaters, I think we can deal with a bad YouTube.
There's the blurb they're going to put on the DVD when it finally comes out. You know,
in the
as the
Corpse
quality
Eaters,
of the Corpse Eaters.
the only picture I could find that I could use on the featured image that had enough quality to use was the bald guy in the warning spiel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody knows what that is. No, folks, he's not putting a handful of popcorn in his
No,
mouth.
it doesn't matter. That's the iconic image of that film. That dude. Oh,
All right.
Oh, here we look.
That and the owl.
There we go.
Yeah, that and the owl. All right.
Well, thanks everybody. Stay tuned for our next episode, and
Yes, sir.
appreciate it, Bill, Chad, and Gregory.
Sure, sure.
Thanks to all the Grue believers. Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.